everybody, and welcome into the Casual Sports Podcast Wednesday edition. No, Mike, we can't yell about Hump Day. But I'm Alec Caberta. That's Matt Morrison. As we get set for another cold week of sports. And it's been quite chilly so far this week. However, in the grand scheme of things, when it comes to this weather, not the worst thing that it's been so cold. It might actually help out the state of Florida with that hurricane, depending on how the weather front pushes down there. If that cold air hits before the hurricane does in the next couple of hours, it could weaken that from a Category 4. Before we get started, though, I do want to, say, our thoughts go out to those in Florida. Hope you all can stay safe, all sheltered up, and you weather the storm and come out the better. But Matt, we got to get into some volleyball. We got a lot of games going on today and tomorrow on the network, so let's waste no time. Let's hop right into it. First game to talk about, Matt, it's your game, so I'm going to hand this to you. Matthews-Badger, big rivalry game tonight.
That's all you got to say right there. I don't care what sport it is, soccer, basketball, softball, volleyball. Matthews-Badger is chaos. I think they're having an all-white out tonight, so anybody in that Kinsman area, well, a.k.a. Sparrow Fart USA, come on down, man, because this is going to be a battle tonight. Badger is their volleyball team is awesome. John Ostapowitz will be on the call with me. He's making the travel all the way from Youngstown down to Badger tonight. I'm like, you got to come. It's Badger Matthews. And all right, I'll come. So it's going to be something tonight. I'll be on the call with John tonight. Badger Matthews goes back to the 60s probably. They have hated each other for years, both schools. When I went there, I couldn't stand anybody that went to Matthews. I go to Matthews. It's just like you and Copley and Revere.
Yep, I feel that same way.
You go there.
Yep.
Maplewood's a little. Still can't stand Maplewood, but Matthews is the real one. Matt.
Well, Matt, I'm sure it's going to be a good night, but I think it's going to be a real good night for your Badger Braves because you have Matthews coming in 3 straight losses in which they've gone down 3-0 to St. John, Maplewood, and Harding. Badger coming in, playing lights out. They've won 4 straight all sweeps against Chalker, Maplewood, PV, and Harding. So, going up against similar opponents, you've seen Badger dominate those that Matthews has not been able to get anything going against. And you look at it, only 9 set losses on the year, 6 of those come in the 2 losses. So in 12 wins, you've only had 3 set losses. That's a really impressive mark to have. And their only loss, Ursuline and then St. John Ashtabula, who also took down Matthews. It's a Badger program that really is moving well, and likelihood is they're going to have a spot come postseason if they continue to ride it out until, mid-October when we get things finalized in the OHSAA.
Yeah.
Go for it.
One second. Let me fix mine. I got where I had. That's got where I had. But we got to talk about these Betts sisters. Hannah Betts, a couple weeks ago, was nominated for a Big Dog of the Valley. She terrorizes that bottom section of the net. Whatever comes up, her and I believe, what was that game? She had a huge standoff with a girl from Chalker, I believe, or it might have been Maplewood too. But she just won't let anybody get the easy tap over. She's there spiking it down. She comes out of nowhere too. And this whole Badger team, the saves that they have made, it's unbelievable. They're running out of bounds, keeping that ball alive. It's insane. It looks like they're a bunch of headless deer running around, but it works. But at some points they're looking like superb. Other points, they look a little unorthodox, which sometimes works. And that's why I think this Badger team is dangerous, because you don't know what they're going to do. You don't know what their game plan is. But I don't care what their record is, 3-11. Matthews is always going to bring the fight to you. So they better show up tonight.
Well, Matt, I'm taking Badger 3 sets tonight. I think they've been really good. And in the OHSAA right now, they rank 19th for Division 4. So couple of spots behind top 16 teams make it into the postseason from each division. So they have Jackson Center, Monroeville, and Cary all ahead of them. So they're going to have to continue to play well. And a game like this is a good spot to grab a win and give yourselves that little bit of a boost going into your final games. Bristol, Lowville, Harding, Liberty, Struthers, and Brookfield to finish out the year. So it's going to be a tough battle to finish it out. But with the way they've played, I don't think you can doubt the Braves.
Never.
Next game coming up, Cardinal Mooney, Crestview. Cardinal Mooney got into a dogfight last night against Boardman. They went a full 5 sets with Hartwig on the call. He was amped up about that one. We had a lot of 5-set games last night. Not much.
I feel so bad for Chris Sigler, man.
Sigler
I'm in there just reading the comments. Yeah, I know.
That was. I don't know what game he was on.
What was that?
I don't know what game he was on, but it went deep.
It was Southern versus somebody. I don't know, but it was like tied 1-1 like forever.
Yeah, he had a long night. Let's see. Sigler, Southern at Columbiana. Yeah.
It started at like 7:53. I saw set 1 and I'm like, oh, okay. And then literally it's close to 10. It finally finishes. Oh.
Yeah, he had a long night down there in Columbiana, but you love those games sometimes. Cardinal Mooney, though, they came out on the bad side of a 5-set game. They couldn't get it done in the final set against Boardman. They dropped that. They fall to 6-6. And Matt, tonight they're not going to have a good night either. They have Crestview coming in, and this Rebel squad undefeated. And Matt, they still haven't lost a set this year. 39-0. I called their last game, I believe it was, when they put up. I got their one against Brookfield, not Newton Falls. But seeing this team, I've seen good volleyball. I've seen really good volleyball with the Ridge. And then I saw this team. And this Crestview squad makes Ridge look like JV. They are that freaking good. Yeah. There was nothing Brookfield could do against them, and that was Brookfield playing at home when they've been really good at home, bad on the road. At home, they got destroyed. I mean, it was 25-8, 25-14, and 25-12. This Crestview team is the best volleyball I've ever seen. Now, I haven't covered volleyball for very long, so I don't know a lot about a lot. But in Division III, they're ranked 10th. I don't think you can find 9 teams that are actually better than them. Maybe with better records or same record, but in better strength of schedule. But you're not finding a team that's going to take this squad down in 3 sets. I don't care who it is. You could put Fitch up against him, and I think that would be a game in which this Crestview squad would still go favored. I'd put the number 1 team in the state in Magnificat out of Rocky River against this team, and I would still take Crestview. This is elite level volleyball being played. No one stands a chance against them this rest of the season. They do go up against both Girard and Fitch, who Girard beat Fitch just on Monday. So that was a huge upset. Though those games there in the final week or 2 weeks of the season are going to be really huge for this Crestview team, and I think it's really going to test what they are. But I got 3 sets tonight. Crestview going 14-0, right it up, 32-0. I'm
gonna go Crestview here too, and you talk about Mineral Ridge volleyball, like they're pretty darn good too. Right. I mean, they're 15-1. Ridge would bring it to him. I don't know, Ridge would bring it to Crestview. That might be. I don't think really so.
I've seen both. I've seen both teams in Mineral Ridge really good at serving, and that's where they get a lot of big points in their big runs. They have great serving, but the way Crestview plays at the net.
With Rachel Schneider and Hewlett. And
but the way Crestview plays at the net, Matt, it's a whole different monster.
Okay.
That's why I give them the edge against everybody. They are so good playing at the net, and their defense is on another level. So our next game here, I'm taking Crestview in that one. Cheney and Niles, 0-11 versus 2-13. Not necessarily a high-profile match, but it's an opportunity coming in for Cheney to win a game. And they've only won a total of 3 sets on the season. They're 0-11. I don't like their odds coming in, but Niles, they've gotten a couple of sets to go their way. but they haven't won since the beginning of the month against Youngstown East, in which they did win 3-0. They won 3-0 against Lordstown. Neither one of those teams is that great. This is probably a similar story. Niles probably takes this in 3 sets. Just Cheney, they've won a total of 3 sets on the season. 2 of them came in a 5-set loss to Youngstown East, and the other one came in a 2-1 loss to Akron North back in August. So this is a team that they haven't won in a while. They haven't won a set in a while, I should say. They haven't won this season. I got Niles. I don't think it's going to be a very pleasant game to watch.
4 or 5
Might be
sets.
a little closer. I don't think it goes 5 sets. But with Cheney's struggles offensively, I know they've had a rough schedule, and it's been very hard. But even against East Palestine, I mean, they weren't able to get anything going. And those Bulldogs, 500 team, so it's not like that's a bad competition. But it just, with the schedule Cheney's had to go through here recently with Canfield, East Palestine, and Harvey was really the last game that you look at and say, all right, that's a 2-12 Harvey. East still struggled, and you're pretty much going up against a similar opponent here in Niles. So I got Niles. I think this goes 3 sets, unfortunately.
All right, I'll go Niles too. I would say Niles in 4 sets.
That does it for tonight's games of volleyball. We're going to talk some of tomorrow's games, but I want to transition to girls soccer going on tonight. The 3-8 Girard Indians taking on the 7-2 Poland Bulldogs, because this Poland team, Matt, they're playing really good. You look at their last 3 games, 18-1 they've outscored opponents, and that was Struthers, Lakeview, and South Range. Girard comes in here at 3-8. Oh, this ain't going to be pretty, Matt. They've been shut out in their last 2 games. They've allowed just 7 points. They have solid defense. I don't think you can knock that, but a lack of offensive production is really going to hurt them against these offensive juggernauts of the Bulldogs, because they have no problem getting a bunch of goals down. They scored 10 against Jefferson. They put 11 on Girard the last time they played. I don't think this one's going to be clean. I got Poland taking it. I don't know if they go double digits again. Their offense, they called off the Dogs a little bit. I still think, though, they probably get 6 to 8 in this game and take down the Indians.
Yeah, I'll take Poland too. Very impressive team.
Next game, 3-6-1, Warren G. Harding Raiders coming off an 11-0 victory over Massillon, Washington, who's just 1-8 here in girls soccer. They go on the road to take on the Irish of Ursuline, who come into this one 7-4. They won their last game out against Marlington 2-1. They lost the prior to, however, to Fitchin United. So they've had recent stumbles, but all in all, it's been a great season, 7-4. I mean, and if you take out the last week of playing, that tough schedule, you're looking at a squad that, was coming in, 6-2 into that last week. So, the rough week definitely hurts them, but seeing the bounce back against Marlington, exactly what you want. Their offense slowed down a little bit thanks to those losses. I think they get things rolling yet again. I got Ursuline in this game. Warren G. Harding's got decent offense, but they've had good offense against bad teams. Quite a few games that, I haven't been overly impressed with. Decent defense, but I don't think it's going to help them tonight. I got Ursuline.
Yep, I'll go Ursuline here too. I think Harding gives them a game now.
All right, and that's all the games we have on the network. It is not a big network night. However, Thursday, we might have more volleyball games than we do football on Friday. It is a loaded slate. So, Matt, you're going to be one of the only people on the broadcast, and you got the big rivalry game. So maybe you'll end up with one of the biggest viewerships. But tomorrow we have a ton of volleyball games on the network. And in fact, if all the we don't have enough people to cover volleyball. That's the big problem, because if we did, we would end up, I think, 6 games short of where football is at the moment. We don't even have enough people to cover all the football games this weekend. There's so many. So, if we had enough people to cover it, we would be just about doing the same amount on Thursday as we would Friday for football. So it's going to be a big week here for YSN. Looking forward to some of these volleyball games. Let's get into it. 13-2 Austintown Fitch. Playing at home against the Canfield Cardinals at 12-6. This Fitch squad, Matt, they've had the rough week. Girard Monday, Ursuline Tuesday, now Canfield on Thursday. They get a week off after this to recover, but then they go into Boardman, Perry, and Crestview after that. Fitch, not a stranger to these tough schedules, man. No matter what sport, they're loading them up, and they're playing well. Canfield comes in, Matt. They've won 4 straight. They've looked really good. They've won all 4 on sweeps as well against Ursuline, Cheney, Talmadge, and Poland. So it's been a good ride for them. I think this is going to be a really fun matchup tomorrow to see on the network. But after what I saw, some really good runs by Fitch, and it wasn't that Ursuline didn't have bad shots, but Fitch's defense was just on a whole nother level. It was insane. Most of the time you get these hard spikes that go towards the back line, and, you see the girls try and get their hands up and it just bounces off and goes into the back wall or gets sent wild. Didn't see that more than once or twice from Fitch in the entire game, and that's what really impressed me about this squad. They were just so fundamentally sound, and even in the article I just sent in to YSN about the game, I really preached the fundamentals in that and how solid Fitch seemed to be. So coming in this, so long as those fundamentals don't break, I think Fitch is going to have no real problem with Canfield. I think Canfield, is going to push this, and it might be close in every set, but I don't know. I got a feeling Fitch is going to close that in 3. They've been really good in 84, but I like Austintown in this battle.
Yeah, I'll go Austintown Fitch too here. I mean, Canfield obviously a pretty solid team, but I like this Fitch volleyball team. So I like the way they've been playing all year. So I've been keeping an eye on them a little bit. So I'm gonna keep with Fitch here.
Unfortunately, this next game becomes a little easier to pick here. 12-5 Howland, 1-11 East. This is going 3 sets. Howland's been playing some really good volleyball this year. Not quite to the level of obviously Fitch or Canfield, but not too far behind. They have good wins throughout the season. I mean, they beat Boardman, they beat Mooney. They did get swept by that Fitch squad, so you do have that knock against them. But overall, they pushed Canfield to 4 sets. So this is a good Howland squad, and they're going to have rematches against Canfield and Fitch. Look at the final 4 games of their schedule: Boardman, Ursuline, Canfield, Fitch. All of those teams have a winning record. Well, actually, Boardman 6 and 7. I thought they were a little higher up, but Ursuline, Canfield, and Fitch still all really good teams, and it's going to be a hard schedule. This should be an easy kind of preparation game for Howland. Try out some new things. I think they take this in 3 sets, no problem. Unfortunately for East, they're not going to get it done tonight. Well, actually, this is against Boardman. Pardon me. On Thursday, I was looking at Tuesday's game. They hadn't put in the scores yet, but that changes my thought up. I still got Howland going against Boardman. Boardman, has been a solid team. They've had a good season, 6 and 7. They go the 5 sets against Mooney last night. But when you saw Harding play Mooney, it was a 4-set win for Warren for this Howland Tigers team. So I'm going Howland in this one before I mess up any other names. So give me Howland. I'll go Howland 4 sets.
I'll go Howland in 3.
Indian Creek going hosting. They're going on the road against Beaver Local on Thursday. It's a 6:30 start time. Indian Creek 3-10, Beaver Local 9-6. Matt, it's another game that's gonna go the way of these Beavers. They've done really good, 3 straight wins. They're playing really solid. Went 5 sets against Oakland, but have wins over Harrison Central and Steubenville. Went 5 sets in the game prior to Edison, which they lost. And really, their only bad loss on the season is to the Potters, and that Potter squad is ranked in the top 20 of their respective regions. So a good spot to be in. I like Beaver to take this game. I got Beaver going in 3 sets. I think it's a quick one.
Yeah, I'll go Beaver in 3 sets too. East Liver volleyball though, they're the real deal. What are they, 13-1 or something? They're pretty good.
Yeah, they are really good. And
yeah,
East Liverpool ranked 11th in Division II right now. That was the rankings that was put out by OHSAA this week. So those are up to date, as the start of the week. But next game, I'm going to be on the call tomorrow night. LeBray 9-5 heading into the Leopards' Den, where Liberty sits 8-7. They lost the game last night to Garfield. Can't be all that upset by it. Garfield really good this season. They're 12-4. It was a sweep their way. Kind of expected it to happen. Liberty plays really well, but in those games where they're outmatched, they do tend to not be able to stay in those, especially playing on the road. They've had struggles. They're 3-5, but now they're back home, 5-2 and playing at home. I really got a feeling I'm going 5 sets in this one. That's how Liberty likes to play. That's how they play their best. LeBray coming in off a 3-0 victory against Brookfield, which, very impressive considering the battles I've seen between Liberty and Brookfield so far this season. First one went 5 sets, second one went 4 sets, and they split the series. And then LeBray comes in and they absolutely run over Brookfield. I know that was Brookfield on the road, so it's a different team than when they play at home. But it doesn't bode well, I think, for Liberty coming in that, they shut down what's pretty much become their rival in Brookfield in just 3 sets, especially with Liberty coming off the 3-0 loss. I'm expecting, some life to this Leopard team, especially being back home in front of their crowd. But I'm interested to see which way this goes. I'm going to pick Liberty because they've kind of become my school here in recency over LeBray, but I think this is close, and I got a feeling it's going 5. But when you go 5 cents at Pete Pro Cup, it goes towards the Leopards.
Yeah, I'll go Liberty here too.
All right. Let's keep it on my side. Next matchup here, Leetonia going on the road into United. United is 9-8, Leetonia 2-12. Matt, unfortunately, this is a quick one. United 3-0. I'm giving them the win here.
Yeah.
Next game, South Range on the road. They're going into Girard. South Range 8-8, Girard 13-2. Matt, 2 really good teams. I think this one probably has a good shot to go the distance, maybe 5. I'm going to go 4. I think, though. Girard's been playing really good. Obviously, taking down Fitch at the start of the week has given them all momentum. Then they beat Poland last night. They have wins over Lakeview, Boardman, and Hubbard in the last, 2 weeks. Last time they played South Range, it was a 3-0 win, and that was in Canfield. So South Range, it's an uphill battle. They win in 4 sets against Hubbard last night. I think maybe they could push it to 4, but I think I'm going to still give this Girard 3-0.
Yeah, I'll go Girard 3-0, 13-2. Who are they taking on?
South Range.
South Range. Yeah, I'll go South Range. I mean, what's their record?
8-8.
8-8. Oh yeah, okay. They've had some battles, then 500. Yeah. But I'll go Girard here. But they can't ride that momentum of taking down Fitch too bad. Okay, like I get it. You beat a good team. Focus on the next match. So, but I'll still go Girard here.
Yeah, Girard not ranked, but after that win on Monday, they might get ranked in next week's poll. So we'll see how things shake up, because if they can win that, beat Poland, beat South Range, I think they're going to be in a really good spot to finish out the season. And the big one to circle on the schedule, Crestview, October 8th. That's the one you look at. It's a Saturday game as well. So, and at noon. So it's going to be one of the only ones on the network. That's got to be must-see volleyball TV. So, in that case, Girard, they're in a really good spot. I got them taking it tonight. And our next game here, Southern and Wellsville going at it. Southern 11-4. Obviously, we were just talking about them going 5 sets. They drop it to Columbiana in a shocking finale. I mean, it was on the 11-3 Southern, 10-5 Columbiana. I mean, right next to one another. Didn't expect that one to be the game of the night. I thought mine, Fitch versus Ursuline, was going to give us something. It doesn't. Columbiana Southern was the big one to watch. I'm interested to see how Southern responds. Now, coming off the loss, they haven't really had to do it too many times. They took back-to-back losses the last time that they came off a loss, and they lost to Wellsville in 4 sets the last time they played. So you have to look at Wellsville coming in. They definitely have the advantage in terms of this matchup, and I think it's going to be real interesting.
Yeah, I think so too.
Wellsville ranked 14th right now in Division 4, so they're playing really good.
I'll go Wellsville in this one. Wellsville beat them last time, so I think it'll be a little bit more tougher. But I'll go Wellsville again.
Yeah, Wellsville right now, man, the only team in YSN that has that playoff spot for Division 4. Badgers on the outside looking in at the moment, so it's coming down Wellsville. Remember, it's only the top 16 teams in the division that make it to the playoffs. It's not like football where it's the top teams from each region, so much tighter field.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm going Wellsville as well. This one's in Wellsville this time. I think they roll. I think they take this in 3, and unfortunately, Southern's going to get handed back-to-back losses. Next game, Columbiana. We were just talking about it a second ago. They win in 5 over a good Southern team. Now they go up against Lisbon in their game on Thursday. This one will be in Lisbon. Lisbon right now 4-10. And if I can say Lisbon one more time in this sentence, that would be great. But Lisbon's lost 3 times in a row, including one to that Southern squad. Columbiana just took down in 5 sets. So likelihood is Columbiana is going to take this game. Probably shouldn't see too many struggles. Columbiana won it last time 3-1. That was in Columbiana. I'd say a good chance of going 4 again. This is a Clipper squad that seems to not like 3-set games. I mean, I'm counting them up here. In the last month, they've had 3 or 4 3-set games. Everything else has pretty much gone 4. So that seems to be where they want to play. I got the Clippers.
Yeah, I'll go Clippers here too, going quick here. I mean, look what they did. I mean, that was a very tough battle to win against Southern. I have to give it to this one. Anybody that can go in there against another good team like Southern and get the grueling 5-set win has got that momentum. I'll go them against Lisbon. Do you got a blanket on?
Yes, I do, man, because I keep my windows open and it's freezing. I'm in an apartment, man. I don't want to turn on the AC. I don't want to turn on the heat, nothing. I keep those windows open.
Yeah.
I'm cheap. What can I say?
Yeah.
Keeps my electricity bill low. Blankets work just fine.
Yeah.
And I like that fresh air. It feels so good, especially doing this show. You need that fresh air to keep us going. Keep you energized.
I got a fan here.
Well, it ain't fresh air like I got.
No.
Next game, West Branch taking on Salem. Salem coming to this 3-11, West Branch 13-3. Matt, unfortunately, it's another game that not really a lot to talk about. West Branch is really good, and obviously Salem not having the best of years. Salem does have the benefit. This is at home, but they've only won 1 game at home this season. So I got West Branch goes 3 sets. I'm
going to go West Branch here too. West Branch handed Mineral Ridge their only loss. And I was on the call when the Salem Quakers played Mineral Ridge the other night. It was a tough battle for the 3 sets, but I mean, Ridge just had the momentum just riding, and it looked like the Quakers started out really good, and then they kind of faltered a little bit. So I'll go West Branch.
I like to pick next one up. Western Reserve at 10-4. They're going on the road to the 8-7 Jackson Milton, who obviously we talked about a little bit ago, they're going up against Ursuline tonight. Got Western Reserve tomorrow, so it's a hard back-to-back series for them. Coming off a loss Tuesday to Springfield 3-0. It's been an up-and-down season for Jackson Milton, and with Western Reserve picking up back-to-back wins over Waterloo and McDonald, and they're only 2 losses. In the recency, I mean, they took a loss to end August, and they've only lost twice since, and it was back-to-back games against Ridge and Fitch. I'll take those if I'm a Blue Devil. Obviously, you want to win them, but you can't really knock those kind of losses to really good teams. So I got Western Reserve taking this. They've been really great in the month. Hardly anybody's gotten sets on them. Jackson Milton pushed them to 5 the last time early in the month. Maybe they can do it again, but I'll take Western in 4.
I'll do the same. Western in 4.
Next up, we're going back into soccer. This is boys soccer now as Canfield comes in 6-1-4. 4 ties on the season. That's almost more impressive than the 6 wins that they have going for them. Soccer, the only sport we have in the region that you can get these ties, and they're going up against Boardman, who lost their last game to Howland that Mike and I talked about yesterday on the show. Boardman now 7-3-3 after a 4-0 defeat. Kind of thought it might go that way, but now going up against Canfield, I think this should be a fun matchup. Canfield won at 4-0 the last time they played. This time it's in Boardman, so I think you kind of have to flip it around. Much different weather. I think maybe the most important thing. That was 2 weeks ago. We were still in the heat of summer. Now you're getting down into these fall cold nights. I think that might be the one difference maker. Offenses are going to start slowing down. Mistakes are going to add up a little bit more. I think it's going to be harder to score. Honestly, we might have a 0-0 tie game for Canfield again. I think they pick up tie number 5 after tying on Tuesday to Cardinal Mooney.
Yeah, it looks that way. I mean, Canfield soccer, I'm looking it up right now.
They're 6-1-4. I mean, they're playing really good, but they've tied their last 3 games.
This is boys soccer?
Yeah, boys soccer. Boardman's lost the last 2.
You called your first soccer game the other day. How'd that go?
A bit rough, I ain't gonna lie. Not my best performance here on the network.
Yeah, I wouldn't know what to do. I've never.
I know the sport
volleyball either, and I'm doing all right at that. But it's just soccer. I mean,
I know soccer a lot better than I knew volleyball coming into the season. But I have to say, broadcasting volleyball a lot easier.
Yeah.
Soccer definitely feels like it should be a 2-person broadcast team. There just ain't enough to talk about. unless you follow the team for the entire year. But Matt, what are your thoughts here? Canfield, Boardman.
I'll go Canfield here. This will be a tight game now. We might get a tie, but I say 1-score game.
All right, I definitely agree. You know, one of the big things with soccer is when you see it get cold. I mean, that ball gets so slick, especially on some of these grass fields. I don't know how many teams play with grass in the region, but it's going to get so slick some of these nights, especially with the rain that's coming in. We're obviously going to get we're going to get more rain here in the next couple of weeks. That seems to be the way things are going. We'll have 4 days clear skies, 4 days of rain. So that's kind of the way thing goes. And when you're talking these soccer matches, this is going to go for football as well. Things are going to get sloppy. Games are going to get maybe a little bit more into the mud bowls. We didn't see any last year. We had beautiful weather all fall last year for football and soccer. And I don't think there was a Friday that we even had rain on last year.
No.
And it was pretty much in the 70s, 80s. Man, you and I were still wearing shorts for the up until the playoffs when it started snowing.
Oh gosh, it was bad.
You and Mike were freezing on the field up there in Lake.
At Perry.
Yeah, Perry.
It was. I do not want to talk about that.
But I mean, you saw the change up for all those teams when we got up there into Perry and how cold it was, because we had back-to-back nights or back-to-back games that we got sent there, and with offenses that were really good throughout the regular season, like Girard and Garfield, they all got stalled out due to that weather. And you're going to start seeing that here very soon. Even the teams like Lowellville, this is potentially the time of the year you see them make that one slip up, because it's going to get very cold. It gets harder to throw the football, and you have to rely on going on the ground. And that's the one side of Lowellville we haven't seen for football, is their ground game very much. Talk to the running backs coach. He's excited about, his running backs. He's got some good kids down there, but, then that could potentially be the one spot we see them slip up. But I think this goes for everyone. It's going to be ugly here very soon if this weather continues to get cold.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at Friday. We got a low of 47. Thursday for some of these games is a low of 40.
Ridge, up in the tent.
Ooh, you best hope they let you stay inside for that one. I was very thankful Liberty has changed where YSN sets up in the last 2 years, because that last Friday was going to be absolutely freezing cold. We're no longer on top of the press box. They've given us a spot in the press box. Very grateful for that one, because it was going to be cold. There was a couple people that came into the press box all bundled up. They were freezing cold. Actually, Matt, our one professor who does the PA announcing, Adam Earnhardt there for Liberty, he came in and his hands were just freezing cold. And I was like, man, I'm glad I'm indoors, but it's going to continue to be like that. And you look at the weather tomorrow, actually, it's a low of 40. So good luck to those playing tomorrow night. That ain't going to be fun for you all very much. So good luck. It'll be around 57 degrees to start those games. Friday, we're looking a little bit better to start some of our games out. 60 degrees around 7. But, by the time those games come to a close, it's going to be 50-3. Or 53, not 50-3. Some games might end that score, but it's going to be 53. So it's going to be cold. Humidity is going to be high, so watch out for things to get slick as that temperature drops in the evenings. And I'm ready for some exciting football and soccer, obviously.
Me too, and volleyball.
That ends our local portion of the show for Wednesdays. This is our day that we kind of go in and we do a little splitsies to keep our old with the new, as we're going to bring it into the college football top 10 here for week 5, voted on by myself, Matt Morrison, and Mike Wolfgang. You can check out the full poll on our Twitter page at Casual Sports Report after the show drops at 3 p.m. today, as this is a pre-recorded edition of the show. Spoiler. So that's going to come out a little bit later into the evening. But Matt, without any further ado, let's get into it, because yet again, we have a new top 10 and we have a new number 10. Somebody that hasn't been in so far, but I've been calling for it. Minnesota, the Golden Gophers, getting the 10th spot. Matt, you voted Penn State in your 10th spot. You were hoping for it, weren't you?
No. Next week it will be.
Potentially, I definitely think Penn State's got to move. But Matt, Minnesota, look at what they've done this season. They have been just on top of it. And, I've kind of been calling, hey, let's put some respect on this team's name, because after what Penn State just did to Georgia, Minnesota, number 1 defense in the nation. They haven't allowed more than a singular touchdown in a game. They allowed Western Illinois to get to 10 points, 1 field goal, and 1 touchdown. They allowed Michigan State a singular touchdown. They didn't allow points to New Mexico State, and they allowed 1 touchdown to Colorado. And that's same old for Minnesota. But offensively, 49 points, 62 points, 38 points, 34 points. Tanner Morgan is cooking with the Gophers. Now they got another Big Ten matchup at home. They went into East Lansing last week and dominated the Spartans. Now they get to play host to the Boilermakers this weekend. This is the Golden Gophers. PJ Fleck, man, it was only a matter of time before he made this squad a national contender. This is their season to make that statement. They've been really good. They're not getting any love. They just hit the top 25. They're ranked number 21 in the nation right now.
Not getting any love. I mean,
Kansas.
Look,
where's that?
Yeah, I was just about to say it. Dudes.
Yeah.
Like, they got other receiving votes. They got 125. But
yeah, they were the top receiving votes team with 125. Cincinnati 60, Florida 56. I'm not loving the AP polls right now. They're looking a bit ridiculous.
No.
You know who has Matt? You know who has the best polls?
Who? Us.
Yeah, we got the best polls, the most accurate polls, and the totally most not unbiased polls.
Yeah,
we try and keep it clean. We give a little bit of love to the Big Ten and to our teams. Obviously, you give Penn State the 10th spot. I actually gave Minnesota the 8th spot, which is why they made it in. I've just been really impressed, and really with the lackluster performances we saw in the top 10, I think it opened some doors. I was not impressed with USC, not impressed with Kentucky. Arkansas
I'm
goes
still
down.
not impressed with Clemson.
Yeah, Clemson was, they pulled it out in overtime. I mean, good on that. Double overtime against Wake Forest. But, even Michigan struggled, and, Georgia struggled. Really, we saw 2 teams inside of the top 10 not struggle, and that was Ohio State and Bama.
Yeah. But
you really go down the list. The next team that didn't struggle with their opponent, number 12, NC State, and they beat UConn.
Yeah. Just wait till Clemson plays NC State. I like their helmets with the wolf on it. Oh, man.
Well, Matt, speaking of them, NC State, they grabbed the 9th spot here in our polls this week. I had them at 7. Matt, you had them at 9. Mike had them at 10. So they were all across the board in our rankings this week. But, they come off a solid win against UConn. UConn's not a good team. We'll throw that. They're terrible. They suck.
Yeah.
But with the win a week ago against Texas Tech, who just knocked off Texas, this NC State strength of schedule starting to build up a little bit. The one thing for me, I still got to watch out for. What's that?
Minnesota's strength of schedule is going to show too. I mean, besides the Michigan State game, who'd they play last? I just saw it.
Like I said, it was Colorado and Western Illinois and the one other that I'm not forgetting.
The Michigan State win was impressive. It was. But build off from that, Purdue's going to be tough. Then you got Illinois and, Penn State right there too. So.
But, Matt, the one thing hanging on me for NC State is that East Carolina Pirates win. They won 21-20 against an EC team that is now 2-2. With their losses coming against Campbell and Old Dominion, and they just lost this week to Navy. So that's the one knock I'm having against NC State. I'm giving them the love here because they were one of the teams I predicted early on in the season to look good. I didn't love what I saw in week 1, but since then they've done a good job and they've taken care of business.
Week 1, big schools play the smaller schools, and they sometimes they catch them off guard a little bit. They try to give them their all because it's a big school. And they want to try and beat them. So I understand that. If North Carolina State would play them like next week or the week after,
different story.
I bet you they would run the tables on them. So
yeah, NC State came out not ready in that first game, but I definitely think they got a new mentality at this point. But coming in next, Matt, number 8. The Kentucky Wildcats. It's a team I don't know. I haven't been too sold on. They've had some, fine wins, but then you look at this past week and what the hell happened against Northern Illinois? Northern Illinois was 1-2, and they almost beat Kentucky. Kentucky wins 31-23 to Northern Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just checking this one. Yeah. Northern Illinois, by the way, played with their backup quarterback. Rocky Lombardi, their starter, was injured. He did not play.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. And Kentucky,
Sometimes you got
Will
games
Levis
like that.
played great. No hate there. Will Levis played great. But their defense was a letdown. And, minimal running game. Cavassier Smoke had 85 yards, but they didn't run the football. They had 35 rushing attempts, but then they took it away from Smoke, who only had 12 carries. Will Levis had second most carries on the team with 9, but he went for negative 10 yards.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not entirely sold on this Kentucky team. They had a good third quarter. They won the third quarter, and that won them the game. But they got outscored in the fourth, and they went into the halftime tied. They lost a lot of points in my book this week. When you're this deep into the season, you can't have games like that. They were 10 for me last week. I dropped them out of my polls this week. I thought there's a couple teams I was a little bit more impressed with. I did not like what I saw out of Kentucky this week.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you have games like that. They got a big game in Ole Miss this week. I think that'll be a good test against them. And, I mean, Tennessee's looking really good, too. They're on their schedule. And then at the end of the year, they do have Georgia. So there's going to be plenty of tests for them to prove them.
Three-loss season for the Wildcats is kind of the way I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Matt, you can't start. Look at the last 2 weeks. Youngstown State, they couldn't score. Northern Illinois, 1 touchdown in the first quarter. This is a bad starting team. And when you go up against a team, even Ole Miss, who I think a little overrated with their 14 rank, I don't think they're that great. I think the SEC is getting a lot of love right now from the polls for no reason. Because they're just starting to beat up on each other and go, oh, well, it's a top 25 win. It's like, yeah, but was that team really top 25? No. But, it's just the problem with starting for this team. And, great second half, sure. Can it really be great? 17 points in a second half. We need more out of Kentucky. If they want to continue to talk about as a team that could upset Georgia at the end of the year, you have to come out this week against Ole Miss, and you just have to lay the hammer down. You have to go in there, start the game off, get 2 first-quarter touchdowns. You have to. You have to take the first quarter 14-0 because their defense has played really good. But you're talking about an offense that in the last week has put up only 62 points against Youngstown State and Northern Illinois. That is pathetic. Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, any team above them on this list, likelihood is they go in there and they're putting up over 40 points. And I know that's only 10-point difference. In football, 10 points is a lot. 10 points is a big difference because 10 points more, and this is 41-23 for Kentucky, that's get looked at a little bit differently. If that 10 points comes in the first quarter as well. Then it's like, all right, yeah, they had a couple, second half points. They made it look a little better. Kentucky right now, they're no longer a contender in my eyes. They can get back into it if they play some good football these next few weeks. Take down Ole Miss, take down Tennessee, and let that last fourth of the schedule, tell a story. Because it's Mizzou, Vanderbilt, Louisville, and Georgia. You only have to focus on one of those games because the rest should come to you in easy dubs.
Mm-hmm.
But, Will Levis, he's got a shot at the Heisman, but you can't have games like this. Even though his stats were there, you can't have games like this. I don't think it helps you because you need to dominate against a team like this. I mean, you see C.J. Stroud right now, the front runner for the Heisman Trophy, the numbers he puts up in, these blowout games. Against Wisconsin, he did 281 yards and 5 touchdowns. Against Wisconsin, a Power 5 opponent. Will Levis had 20 more yards and a less touchdown against a MAC team. That's the conversation that, Will Levis and this Kentucky team wants to be in, so we're going to put him in it. And, you don't like the comparison, play better.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a bad performance, 303 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's a
no,
really
it's
good
not
performance.
bad at all, but, I mean, you're comparing
against
it
a really crap
Ohio
opponent.
State. I don't think you should even compare Will Levis to, the likes of C.J. Stroud or anybody else.
He was in that conversation for the Heisman preseason.
He's a scrappy quarterback. I like him. He's a little weird, but, I mean, I like him. He was an old Penn State guy. I much would have rather had Will Levis at the helm than Clifford. But, I mean, Clifford's not looking too bad to start. I mean, those first couple games were a little weird. But, I mean, he's doing a little bit better. But, I mean, Will Levis, I mean, he's not going to be the guy that's going to be your front runner for every team. He's not going to be the Heisman guy. He'll probably be a 4th-round pick in the NFL.
Oh, I don't know about that, man. He's getting talked about. One of the top quarterbacks in the draft this year. I expect him to go first or second round, depending on what teams are shopping for quarterbacks. That's the big problem, I think, this season in the NFL. I don't. Right. I don't know
see
what
how he
teams are
does
shopping.
against Georgia and Tennessee. I bet you that will decide on his draft status a little bit.
Yeah, but those games kind of didn't even hurt the guys we saw last year in Sam Howell and who's a quarterback from Ole Miss?
Matt Corral.
Matt Corral, yeah. I mean, their stocks didn't really take that big of a hit. They just weren't great quarterbacks to, begin with when it came to, NFL draft positioning. But Will Levis is one of those guys he's being talked about early. And this one might be interesting. Saints might be hunting for a quarterback, and with the team they have, Jameis Winston not practicing today. Neither was Michael Thomas. So a couple of big injuries. Taysom Hill was taking second string quarterback snaps. Andy Dalton might be the starter this weekend.
That whole thing needs to end.
With the Taysom Hill experience?
Yeah.
Probably. But Matt, number 7, let's jump forward here. The USC Trojans. This was a bad week for them, Matt. 17-14. This is an offense that we were expecting to really go big in this kind of game. Give Oregon State some props. That was a really good performance by their defense. Yeah. But if Oregon State had an offense at all, I mean, they would have won this game. Unfortunately, their quarterback is Chance Nolan, and the dude threw 4 interceptions. And USC still only won by a field goal. Overrated are the Trojans. Yeah. I still kept them in an 8, or pardon me, I dropped them from 8 to 10 this week. Another performance like this for me for USC, dunzo. They got Arizona State this week. It's going to be a blowout. Hopefully.
They got Arizona State next week, so.
But then
they're going through some problems, though.
Washington State, Matt, I got the Huskies, man.
Look at Utah in there, too. I know Utah I know they lost, but, they're still a tough team.
I like the Cougars. Give me the Cougars.
All right.
But Kalen Williams, still somehow he jumped up, I believe, in a second right now for the Heisman conversation after this week. I don't see it. Dude had more incompletions than completions and only a singular touchdown. Not what you want to see. And right now, everybody else really taking their status in this Heisman race. C.J. Stroud, the only one that really hasn't screwed it up. And, I say that he's going to do it this week. You can pretty much guarantee it. Buckeye quarterbacks, man, it's always a great start, and they get into that like week 5, week 6, and they just have that one bad game and they tank it. But number 6, Matt, you don't like them, but they've still won. Clemson Tigers, and they pick up a top 25 victory over Wake Forest, who, got to give credit.
This is the team that's overrated.
Wake or Clemson?
No, Clemson. Seriously, I get it. They had a good, strong finish last year after, they had a 3-loss season or something like that, or they were 10-2, 9-3, something like that. But all the love that they're giving them is this. I understand, I wanted them to be ranked. They deserve to be ranked, but they put them up there 5 all year long after that season last year. I know they're projected to be better, but look at Wake. If Hartman was a little bit more fresher, he was out a little bit. I think he's still trying to figure some things out a little bit. Honestly, he hasn't been playing.
Did you see his numbers?
I've seen better games from him last year.
Really?
He hasn't played.
Matt, Sam Hartman was 20 for 29 with 6 touchdowns and 337 yards.
It was a good game, but get Sam Hartman. He's coming off the rust a little bit, okay? But, get him starting every game this year, and this game would have been different. Period.
I don't know about that one.
Different.
You don't do much better than 6 touchdowns. I think in this game, you blame defense. The problem I see with Clemson is, they actually figured out some offensive things this season. I think that's the one big turnaround is they do have some offense, Matt, a lot better than last year, you can say. But look at their defense so far. It's gotten progressively worse every game as their opponents have gotten better. Georgia Tech week 1, they allowed 10 points, but then to Furman the next week they allowed 12. Then Louisiana Tech came in and scored 20. Now Wake Forest puts up 45 and 21 points in the third quarter. It's going to be Clemson's defense this year that loses it. No Brent Venables this year, their defense coordinator.
No Brent Venables.
And you're seeing the problem. And this is the same thing that you're seeing with Oklahoma State. They lose their big guy and Jim Knowles on defense, and their defense is falling apart. So that's the one big thing for me. The Clemson offense, especially with their running game, they got a good running game with Will Shipley. That guy can run the football. 5.2 yards per carry and a touchdown for him on 104 yards. That's what Clemson needs. They need a strong back. That's when they need their best.
Yeah. He's making look DJ a little bit better than what he is. It's because of their running game.
And they got some wide receivers that are starting to step up this year. They didn't have that at all last year, and DJ could never put the ball on him. So
nope.
It's an improvement. 5 touchdowns here. That's what they needed. They needed a confidence game like this to, go out there and win it against the top 25 team and make some noise. But Matt, at number 5, the Tennessee Volunteers, led by Hendon Hooker. This team, they're not getting a whole lot of love, but I think they got it. 22 for 28 for Hooker, 2 tutties for him on 350. By the way, he also ran for 112 yards on the ground and a touchdown along a 44. He played excellent. Their offense is looking good. They got weapons all over the field. One of the better wide receiver cores. I wouldn't say the best. Decent running backs. Again, though, not the best. A lot of room for improvement. I don't think they're a team that's going to end up making any noise in the SEC to finish out the year. But I do think this is a program top 25 teams at the moment. I don't love Florida. They did drop out of the top 25, but it was a top 25 victory when it came down. If I'm going to give Ohio State credit for beating Notre Dame in that one as a top 10 battle, I'm going to give that credit here as well. So
you can give all the love to Tennessee you want. Like, yes, they're a great team. They're way better than they've been. Okay, they have. But if you don't beat Alabama,
it doesn't matter.
Does not matter. And they got them, they got LSU and then Alabama.
Yeah, we're talking about an awful schedule.
And they're
LSU,
at home.
Right.
Alabama's coming to Tennessee.
Yeah, but here's the schedule. So in LSU, you go into Baton Rouge, then you have to host Alabama. Then you get a week, basically a bye week here as you play UT Martin. But then Kentucky and Georgia, the 2 weeks after that. Tennessee's not going to be in this top 10 for the next 5 weeks. In the next 5 weeks, I don't know if they'll make it in the next 3.
I'm going to be surprised. If they
are, they're going to be sitting at number 3.
You're talking about overrated with USC. I think potentially Tennessee is very overrated too.
Potentially, but you have to give credit to the wins so far that they have. I mean, they're one of the only. I believe they're the only. They might be one of the only teams with 2 top 25 victories on the season. Yeah. So got to give some. 2 of their 4 wins were against top 25 teams.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many others have that on their resume here at the moment, but you have to give a little bit of credit. But Matt, if they're in it through the next 4 weeks in this top 10, likelihood is they're sitting at 3, 2, or 1, depending on if they can knock off. I mean, Alabama, Kentucky, and Georgia.
They beat Alabama. They take their spot.
Right, they'll take 3rd. But then you go take down Kentucky and Georgia in back-to-back weeks. You got the top spot in the nation. I don't care what Ohio State does at that point. Ohio State could win 100-0 over the next 4 weeks. And if Tennessee comes in and beats Alabama, Georgia, and Kentucky all in a 4-week span, that's the number 1 team in the nation.
Oh yeah.
But that's a big if. Coming down another number 4. Our top 4 pretty much unchanged. Michigan's going to get this 4 spot. I was not impressed with their performance against Maryland. With what we've seen out of them so far, it's a game that their offense needed to play better, and that's not on Blake Corum, because Blake Corum, in my eyes right now, should probably be number 1 or number 2 in the Heisman race. Him and C.J. Stroud, I'd take a coin flip right now, but Blake Corum is running like an absolute manimal. That dude is insane for Michigan football. He had a split carries with Hassan Haskins last year, and that was a dangerous backfield. Now that he's got him all to himself, he might be even better.
Just wait. They had their cupcake games with Colorado State, Hawaii, and UConn, and they're finally getting in the Big Ten play. They barely get past, Talia Tagovailoa. Man, he is something else.
He's good.
I like watching him. I really do. And they get some good receivers there, too, with Maryland. And this way, man, Iowa, going down in Iowa, I don't care what their record is. What is their record?
Iowa, I believe they won this week.
They undefeated still?
Let me pull this up.
They're 3-1. Who did they lose to?
They lost to Iowa State in week 2, 10-7. Oh. That was before they figured out how to score the ball in the offense, which they still haven't done. They had 2 defensive touchdowns against Rutgers.
Just wait. Iowa is. I mean, it's going to be tougher. And then you got Indiana, and then you got Penn State. So
yeah, Indiana's going to be a cupcake game.
Yeah.
But Matt, for Michigan, you look at it, and this is the real criticism on their schedule, because we're seeing the top 25 worst teams of the season. 3 of the teams that Michigan have played are inside the top 10. UConn, Hawaii, and Colorado State. And Hawaii and Colorado State are the 2 worst teams in college football. UConn was put at 10 because they actually won a game. And I think they won against an FCS team. Michigan's strength of schedule is easier than some high school teams.
Oh, yeah.
Fitch might be 4-0. Fitch might be 4-0 against this schedule.
Maybe.
But number 3, the Crimson Tide, dominating win. I think that's really all there is to say. I mean, they just destroyed Vanderbilt. They were supposed to. Bryce Young looked clean again. I like to see it. You know, you don't want to see Bryce Young and CJ Stroud kind of fall off. You want this to be a tight Heisman race. Bryce Young's 2 interceptions against UL Monroe tanked it, and a terrible game there. But more games like this, he's going to put himself right back in the conversation. Alabama playing good.
Yeah, they are.
At number 2, my Buckeyes of Ohio State getting a really, really solid win against Wisconsin. And the only thing I hate about this game is the box score doesn't reflect this game because Wisconsin had 14 points in the fourth quarter and Ohio State completely let off the gas. Braylon Allen, you look at his numbers, 165 yards and a touchdown. Oh, he must have had a good game. 100 yards of that came in the fourth quarter alone.
Wow.
Braylon Allen had under 60 yards in 3 quarters against Ohio State. Ohio State led off in that fourth quarter, and Wisconsin, made it look good. That's the one thing. It's like you look at this and you go, oh, but it was all in the fourth quarter. It still counts, obviously. Braylon Allen continues his 100-yard per game streak that he's had going on, but this was domination. And if Ohio State hadn't led off there, there's a likelihood in the AP polls they would have overtaken Bama, but they let off against this team, and they allowed Braylon Allen to put up 100 yards in the fourth quarter and a touchdown. But Braylon Allen was the secret weapon, or not the secret. He was the weapon of this team, and he got shut down for 3 quarters of football, and that's why they lost. And Ohio State is unbelievable.
They got, Rutgers this week?
Yeah. Then Iowa. Then they get a bye week. So then they go on the road for the first time. We'll see how they fare away from home. But, Matt, number 1, obviously the Bulldogs of Georgia. But some struggles this week. And Stetson Bennett looked like crap. They're going to say it. 272 yards, no touchdowns, and interception. Any chance of him being in that Heisman conversation? Gone. Out the window. Georgia's still really good at football. Don't doubt it. Kent State likes to play teams tough. They don't ever win, but they play teams tough. And this schedule is going to be cupcakes for Georgia until Tennessee and Florida, maybe Florida. I don't even know about that. But Mizzou, Auburn, Vanderbilt is going to be about as easy as can get. Yeah, Auburn's 3-1. It's not a very impressive 3-1. But, Vanderbilt, they're also a 3-1 squad, or 3-2 now, pardon me. It's not good looking. Back half of the schedule is going to be a little bit different for Georgia. I'm interested to see how they play against Tennessee and Kentucky, but pretty much to me, unless Tennessee does something, Georgia's taking this side of the division again. Yeah. So they're the top team in America until they ain't. Really, in my opinion, they proved it early on with the win over Oregon. Hey, that's our spot until we give it up. But that's all the time we have for today on the Casual Sports Podcast. I'm Alec Berna. That's Matt Morrison. Power Hour coming up next. We'll see you all tomorrow.